a tight game that I don't think anyone expected in Bills Dolphins. I mean, my first takeaway is just that was way too close for comfort if you're Buffalo.
That was way too close, especially with Skylar Thompson throwing as soon as he threw that first interception, I was like, all right, that's about it. That's really what we're going to have. But no, it just felt like they couldn't get over the hump, and you never want to feel that. That's as probably as a Bills fan, this whole game, you're like, are we that team, or is this really happening? Because it just felt like they just couldn't get out of that little mucky start that they had.
It was such a strange swing of emotions because when they were up 17-0, the first touchdown, the first scoring drive, there was the bomb to Diggs, which is just beautiful. Allen adjusts the protection. They go with 7 in protection. He knows he has the one-on-one. The Dolphins bring a 0 blitz, and he goes 60 yards in the air over the top of it, which is just like, okay. I mean, I guess that's a plan. Sure. If you can do it, which is just ridiculous. See, Darius Slay on Twitter was talking about it. He's like, as a corner, that's not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to be able to, if it doesn't get home, you're not supposed to be able to throw it 60 yards down the field for 40. That sort of play.
We run a 40-yard dash for a reason. We don't have to run 60.
So that happens. And then he completes the ridiculous one, Dawson Knox, for the touchdown. And then they get the pick and then they score. And it's like, well, this is just one of those games where the Bills have this gear. And to know you have that gear as the playoffs are ramping up, and then to almost have this season where you were the Super Bowl favorites coming into the year slip away from you against Skylar Thompson, that little vacillation and feelings over the course of a 4.5-hour football game was a lot to deal with.
Oh my God, it was like a college game, how long it took, and all the mistakes that were happening. It really felt, I tweeted this, it felt like it was the best Fun Belt game I've watched in weeks. Like, that's what it really felt like as the game went along. But I mean, the first play, it was a sign of things to come for the day. Was the Dolphins said, better the burnout than fade away. They brought heat and they brought pressures. They brought that cover 0 early, and they brought a lot of pressure throughout the day. And this was the most throws of 20 or more air yards that Josh Allen has had in his entire career in one game. I looked it up since he starting. He had 12. Almost a third of his pass attempts were 20 air yards or more. 12 of them. And
he averaged 15 air yards per attempt in this game.
Because they blitz him, and I guess the Bills just don't like hot routes. They just throw go balls, and that's fine. Like, that's what's tough. And I just real quick, as my football theory here is, when you get pressured, I've always believed this, is you block it up and you gash them, just like it happened in that first drive, the beautiful deep ball. But it also goes to show you how go balls are the 50-50 balls and how they can bounce the wrong way for you. Allen went 5 for 12 on those throws for 159 yards and 1 touchdown, but 1 interception. And that's what it is, though. It's boom or bust. That was almost 50-50, 5 for 12, 6 for 12, that's 50-50. It's a hard way to live. It can leave you frustrated for those drives. And we talk about getting those explosive plays. The Bills had 13 explosive plays today. They've only had 1 game with more this year. Then that was 14. It was just, Allen was chaotic, and I'll talk about that in a second. Like, 21 of his pass attempts lasted 3 or more seconds. That's the second most he's ever had in one game in his career. Like, it was chaotic. And that's what the Dolphins wanted. They wanted high variance Josh Allen. They said, screw that. Last game, we let him nickel and dime us, let him run on us. No, we'll live with you throwing go balls all day, and we'll heat you up. And it kind of worked. It at least kept him in the game. It was death by, they took some haymakers, but it kept him in the game, and it kept him alive, and made Josh Allen make a couple mistakes.
Pushing the ball down the field was one answer that was with mixed results. Yeah. And then when they would heat him up, he was trying to take off on some of those third downs.
His eyes came down all the time,
consistently in this game. So it was either I'm taking a shot down the field or I'm trying to take off. And that was not a good set of answers. Nope. And despite all the explosives that they had, they were not efficient offensively. They went 5 straight drives without scoring. So after going up 17-0, you have the John Brown interception on the deep shot.
Mm-hmm.
Khalil Shakir, that incompletion on that 3rd and 8. That if that happens, the game changes a little bit if he hangs on to that. But that's an incompletion. The Kohu tip to Javon Holland with a little bit of contact against Beasley, that's intercepted. To come out in the second half, Eric Rowe strip sack, fumble, touchdown. 3 and out. And then the following drive, they had the weird miscue on that counter bash for like a 4-yard loss for a TFL.
Yeah.
Jalen Phillips gets a pressure right through Spencer Brown's chest, incomplete deep shot, 3-and-out. So that's 6 drives in a row where they came up empty. And then the game, in my opinion, shifts on the Khalil, on the Kaiir Elam interception.
Yes.
So it's 24-20 at that point, and the Dolphins are pushed way deep in their own territory. Skylar Thompson lets one rip. I couldn't tell what the coverage was, whether that was cover 2 and he was underneath it, because if he was trying to take a hole shot. Either way, ill-advised.
Yes.
So that ball gets
that's a sinking corner. If it's covered 2, that is a very much sinking corner.
That's one of those moments where Skylar thinks he's Josh Allen with the arm, and that unfortunately is not the case. And then that drive is the one where they finish it off with a Beasley touchdown, get the ball right back, and then you get the jerk route to Beasley out of empty for like a 25-yard gain, and then the missile shot to Gabe Davis on that corner route. I think we have the video of it. This is just a silly throw. Talk about what's happening here for the people who are watching.
So it's a classic high or low, and Gabe Davis is running a burst corner. So he inside stems and he runs a little 7 route, a corner route, but Josh Allen hits the top of his drop and lets this thing loose. So, but this is the difference, like you said, Skylar Thompson and throwing a whole shot, and Josh Allen throwing this. So on this, it's just Stephon Diggs is running a flat route or a flat stop, high low. This is what smash. This is what you beat cover 2 with. So with Gabe Davis running that inside stem, the corner sees Stephon Diggs coming at him. He's like, well, I got to stay low on this, but it doesn't matter. It's in the red zone. That's still a tight space. Josh Allen hits the back of his drop and just fires that bad boy in there. I mean, the Dolphins didn't even have a chance. Even if they did play it smart and anticipated it, that throw didn't give them a chance. So this is just the combo of good scheme against the perfect coverage for that scheme, and Josh Allen just being a freak and giving the defenses no room for error, even if they were on top of the play.
And that's
just
the
perfect.
Frustrating part about this, if you're Miami, is that you've given yourself a chance with some of the turnovers. You win the turnover battle, some of the inconsistencies with how they handled the blitz, but you can't leave the door open because these plays are still going to come. Yes. This play is still going to come. The drive after the Elam interception, that was a 3rd and 8 where he keeps it on that 3rd and 8. He is still going to be that force of nature that's going to get you a few more times over the course of the game. So even with those miscues, the Dolphins weren't able to take advantage of that, whether that was some of the drops early on, and then obviously the biggest moment being that 4th and 1 where they have to take the delay of the game after taking multiple timeouts to have to beat the play clock. That's just a really tough one.
Yeah, it honestly felt like it, and I don't want to, analyze, body language and all that, but it just felt like the Dolphins, especially maybe Tyreek, like they just didn't think they had a chance really, because Skylar Thompson sailed a ball, and Tyreek just like he kind of did the look over, like kind of jokingly, like kind of like, oh, I had no shot at that one, and I was like, oh, they're checked out. It's cold. They're done. Like especially when they went down that early, but actually, kind of damaged them in the long run because they actually hung in the game. You could see them having a little more juice and having like, oh shit, we're in this, and it kind of just too little, too late, and that's Skylar Thompson trying to throw hole shots and all that, but they did. I love the game plan that the Dolphins had, and that's what you said. When you don't have those chances and you are a double-digit underdog, you can't miss on the chances. Just like we're talking about the Ravens game, you can't have those mistakes, even if you are starting the backup quarterback. I just thought it was interesting. It was like the Dolphins Jedi mind trick Josh Allen. They really did. They heated him up, made him start looking around. I said he had the zoomies like a dog, like a golden retriever, like because he kind of did. He wouldn't like check it down. It was just like his eyes were going everywhere. So the first game they played, or week 3, that was the most Josh Allen has ever targeted his running backs this whole entire season, the second most in his entire career he's ever targeted running backs, because he kept checking it down. All right, you're going to play the soft coverage. I'll check it down. 8-yard gain. This year or this week, he only targeted his running backs on 5% of his pass attempts. And that's the 6th lowest amount of his entire career targeting running backs. And it was just like, there's no reason not to. He just kept launching these balls over and over. And again, that's fine to sprinkle in there, but be efficient. You don't need to just be hunting these big plays. It just kind of felt like he was hunting. He just hunted the whole day. He was wanting that big play over and over. He was trying to stop the bleeding, but sometimes we talk about you have to be a quarterback. Yeah. And today he went away from that. He's been better, but he really went away. The strip sack, he has to know he's hot. That is a classic 5-man protection. They showed it. you know that you're hot off the edge. That's in 5-man rules. And he doesn't even look that direction. He looks to the field and then tries to come back. No, you can't do that. And that's Josh Allen. He's Professor Chaos, but he has to be a better quarterback as opposed to just being a good athlete.
The 4th and 1 decision, I think, is going to take up a lot of oxygen. It already did today, and the delay of game that they took.
Oh, man.
I understand people are hammering Mike McDaniel about it. It's totally fair. This is one of those moments as a rookie head coach with a 3rd-string quarterback when you're also the play caller that it can get on top of you. It's not surprising necessarily to see this happen. I think we've seen this happen with other young play calling head coaches in the first or second time they get on this sort of stage. And I think that it's fair to criticize him about that. It's an unacceptable thing to happen in a playoff game, but this is something that hopefully you learn from and you figure out, all right. And what the story that they told, which makes total sense. You could see it on his face. They thought they got the first down.
Yes.
So he had signaled in a 1st and 10 play, realized they didn't have the first down. They were out of timeouts because they had to take so many of them early in the game to not get delays of game. So they had to get a different personnel group out there to run the 4th and 1 play, and they took a delay of game. That's a communication thing. That's a process thing, and that needs to get better. But I think that can get better. This is the first time this coaching staff has been in this sort of moment, again, with a 3rd-string quarterback on the road in a playoff game. It's important, in my opinion, to step back and have some perspective about what Mike McDaniel and his staff did this year before we tear down the Mike McDaniel experience in year 1. Mike McDaniel has been a wonderful offensive play caller this year, an offensive designer. And the value that they've gotten from that, I think, far outweighs the drawbacks in some of the game management areas. So it's just something that you work on. Coaches get better. Coaches can improve. Coaches can look at their processes and say, oh, what can we do differently about this? And I think that is what this should be for Mike McDaniel, not some death knell about Mike McDaniel's head coaching career, which it kind of felt like a little bit on Twitter today.
I missed that because I'm kind of stunned that anyone would think that after what's been happening.
People were just like really, really ripping him apart. And it's just like, okay, like that was a bad mistake. It's been a really good season.
In fact, they're hanging in the game.
Yes.
They were 14-point underdogs. Like, the fact they're even in the game.
100% agree.